Okay, I've hit the live button.
So who are you? Hello.
Hi. Yes. Hi. This is Nick. It's been a minute. So since we've been live, actually, it's been about a month now since we did the coverage of HFES. Is it 3 weeks?
3 weeks, I think it is. Yeah, because we've had 2 weeks out for various hiatus things. So.
Well, we took. Hang on. Was it? I know we had 2 weeks off. 1, 2. It wasn't the 19th. We did the last live stream on the 12th, right?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's right. So we took a week off, and then we were going to get back in the studio, and then we had something, and then I started packaging up the stuff that we did at HFES and dropped that for 2 weeks.
Yes.
So it's been about a month.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fine. Yeah, I think I've had 2. Yes, because I'm pretty sure 2 1202s out since. Yes, I think I have.
Okay.
Since we last talked. So.
Well, we're here. We're back, and we are here to put on a show for you. What the show is, we will determine that in real time over the next half hour or so, and then we'll go live with a little episode. But I do have to say, it is October now. Barry, what is October?
Cold. It's really cold outside. Oh, it's also the stuff happening this month, isn't there?
Yeah, there's stuff happening.
It's a bit spooky and like ghosts and goblins and all that sort of stuff. But on the way down,
spooky music.
What, just to set a bit of atmosphere? You mean?
Yeah, let's do it.
I like the idea.
All right, this is a spooky rendition of the Human Factors main intro. So take that. So we could put on the spooky music. We could talk about spooky topics if we want to. We could talk about whatever we want to. I know we had a couple things going back and forth, you and me, Barry, and then I think we could potentially leave it up to folks to chime in. And if you're watching live, listening live, there's a couple things that you can do. One, you can be a live caller right here. Just scan that little QR code or take a screenshot with your phone and tap the link. You can join us. You can indicate there's a little chat that you can chat privately with us once you get in. If you want the chat, if you want your face to be on, if you want to be left sort of in the shadows and just be a disembodied voice, you have that option. You can talk to us about whatever you want. This is we're kind of going back to the pre-show, show, post-show format. And we're going to try our hardest to put together some show notes here with some topics.
If you just want to say hi in the chat, in whatever platform you're doing that, just do that. Just say hi. Tell us where you're from, what you're doing. And if you've just got ideas about what we should be talking about, then, because you can tell by the fact that we have a blank sheet of paper at the moment, that we've done lots of work in the run-up to this. No, you're right. We have been putting some topics back and forth, but
look, I like to this is how I like to put it. We've been dusting off the old podcast process, and as one of those steps, it was cleaning up the show note boilerplate stuff. And because I went and cleaned it up, now there's a blank sheet in front of us. But you're right. But look at all these topics here. You have 4 topics. You have Reflect on Aspire. You have IEA 24. You have 75th CIEHF. You have music about human factors and ergonomics. And we also have, I threw out a couple for you. I had Think Human. I have Notebook LM. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of stories that we've been back and forth on, specifically around like pedestrian safety rules. And so there's a lot of things that we could talk about. I certainly have my favorites. And I wonder, Barry, if we do this, if there's maybe sort of one topic for me, one topic for you, and then if there's like a listener suggestion, or if there's a topic that you and I think is important enough to bring in, maybe we could try to focus it on 3 topics tonight. What do you think? Potpourri.
Potpourri. Wow. Yes. So it's got to smell nice. It's got to look good, and be interesting. I guess I don't. Is potpourri really interesting? Because it could be.
I think it can be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Potpourri is interesting. I like to think of it like a sampler. like a breakfast sampler. You get a
Okay,
little bit of sausage, a little bit of egg, a little bit of bacon.
that's not potpourri though.
Okay,
Potpourri is
no,
it's potpourri smelly stuff in a bowl.
okay, all right. Yeah, that's more like toss everything in. Okay,
You're,
this is the Human
you're,
Factors Cast sampler. How about that?
or a human factors buffet.
Buffet.
Yes.
All right.
Or the charcuterie board, if you will.
Charcuterie board. All right.
Okay. I thought-
Okay. So as we're putting together our notes here, I'm gonna should I copy this and make a new?
I think you need to make it a new one because that is obviously
Okay.
going to be the black one going forward. And
Oh,
then
geez, what episode is this? I feel like this is episode 300 something.
that's not a bad guess.
Hang on. Dusting off the podcast shelf here. What's what are we on? Oh, boy. All right, so it looks like we're on episode 303. 303 Human Factors Potpourri. It almost rhymes.
Fair.
But we don't like the potpourri. HF potpourri. I like 303 HF potpourri, but buffet. We'll go with buffet. All righty. So I will make this. I will share it with you. And you know what? I'm feeling quite generous. Oh, I don't know. Should I say this?
I don't know.
Should I say this, Barry? Okay. I am feeling generous, but I'm gonna lock this down just a little bit. So that way people don't like go and run amok with our show notes. Otherwise, it'll be really bad. Okay, Barry. Here's your link. That's your link, and
awesome.
What's the best way to do this? I guess I could put it in chat. I guess I can put up a QR code. Okay, this is the first time I've ever done this, so this is a little nerve-wracking for me because this opens it up for like a lot of abuse, and so please don't abuse this link. Let's see.
Do you realize by saying please don't abuse this link,
we're gonna get one of our patrons used to go in there all the time and like write make funny names for us or something.
Yes. Right.
Let's see here. Show notes. Contribute to show notes here.
Right.
Live show notes. Yeah. Okay. That's it. All right. Oh, I hope the permissions are right on this. All right. You ready? This is here we go. All right. So there it is. It's right here in the corner. You can comment on this. I'm not going to make it editors. Otherwise, we'll get in a whole lot of trouble. But you can comment on this. So you can just comment wherever. We'll see your comments show up as we're making this. But I think to start, Barry, let's do 3 stories. So
I'm going to go for the CHF 75th. And in fact, I've realized where you're writing that, and I'm not writing down here. Because there is things that we can do around that.
Great. I'm gonna make my story about Notebook LM.
I'm intrigued about that. I had a brief look on the internet about that, and that's fine. And if we suggest a third one that can be edited out by anybody who has a better story,
sure, yeah, that's fair.
So we don't really talk very much about the IEA, and so we could talk a little bit about that, but that does, or we could just link to the fact that I've just interviewed the president, one of the two. There is, in fact, now I'm going to wrap that other topic into the 75th stuff anyway. So the reason, and I'll pitch this slightly because we've been talking about music. We've been looking or talking about the idea of having a Human Factors Festival. So me and my team, which we've loosely called ErgoFest, which I think just sounds really cool. And so then that got us discussing around the office table. Is there, what sort of music would you play at an ergonomics festival, at a Human Factors Festival?
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Well, we sort of started talking about different types of music, different types that people like, and then I just went onto Spotify and started searching did a search for ergonomics in music titles, and there's a lot of music out there that has ergonomic, either I guess an ergonomic background or a ergonomic influence, or basically just
ergonomics in the lyrics.
Yeah. I need to work out where I actually put the list of them, because it's around here somewhere. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Because I won't replay them, but I do want to total, because this is good pre-show content, I think.
Okay.
So there's an actual album called Human Computer Interaction by Pour Over, and they have things like is that music or is that wordage?
Some may call it music.
Anyway, there's a song called Ergonomics by Kajagoogoo, very 80s band. There's a song called Human Factor on the album Human Factor by Van der Wies. Human Factors by Lava Hong. Why are Fix You and Just the Way You Are? I've got different people adding to this. Meet Me Halfway by Black Eyed Peas. That's sort of a compromising. But yeah, so there's all these different songs. Not a vast amount, granted, but yeah, some are there that are based on ergonomics. So maybe that's a challenge for somebody who's musically inclined, is to start developing Human Factors music. Anyway, we don't need to add that into the main show, because
I like where your head's at. I like where your head's at. So let's see. We got I got a link for Think Human and the 75th. Is that a good link, Barry?
Oh, I don't know.
If not, change it up.
Yeah, that's a decent link.
Okay. All right.
We'll do that. What was the other story that I was going to suggest? I've got too many things kicking about now.
I know. Let's see here. Where are we?
October 5th. What I thought, if we don't come anything better, it might be nice to reflect on Aspire.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good one. Let's do that.
Because it'd be because we never, given what was going on during the day, then we never really chatted and reflected that much, because there was lots going on. Now you've had a bit of time to sink in, and we could reflect on that.
Yeah, let's do that. I like that. And if anyone thinks otherwise, I mean, let us know in the chat. Let us, come up here in the show notes if there's specific things that you want us to cover in these three topics. Once again, we're talking about the Chartered Institute 75th. We're talking about Notebook LM, and we're reflecting on Aspire. I almost wonder about the ordering of these, Barry. I'm wondering if we switch it up and do sort of a reflection first. Talk about the 75th and end with Notebook.
Can do that,
because it takes us from one to the other to sort of a different topic, and I think the flow that way is a little bit better. All right, so let's do that. So I'm gonna do.
You do that before I start adding stuff.
Yeah, reflect on Aspire. 2 is the 75th, and then 3 is Notebook LM. Hey, this is the content creator piece that not everybody gets to see. Is like, what would make a great show? All right, Barry, you're free to add into those. I'm gonna make little. What is how work live demo? Okay, I'm just adding a couple little quick chat things here. So let's see. Really is a spooky rendition. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a spooky rendition of the Human Factors cast main intro music. who can't tell. And if you now you might not be able to unhear it. We have a couple of other versions of it. This is just one of those. It's like we're doing it for the season. And I guess we could do one more thing there, Barry. It's almost like we should get these show notes out and about before everything once again. But let's see here. What is my one more thing? My one more thing is going to be... All right. Yeah, that's my one more thing.
Oh, see, now I've just got to scroll down and work out what your one more thing is.
Yeah. We'll kill this for tonight because we're not doing that. It's potpourri.
Yeah.
Blurbies. I don't know if we need... We can wing the blurbs. If you need a blurb, I can throw them into Chat GPT and you can make some edits.
Oh, I see. To talk about them, it's yeah.
No, I think we're okay. Like we're seasoned pros at this, right?
I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
I mean, the only one that I might want to do is like this one here. Hold on.
Where was Aspire? Where did he go?
Aspire was in Phoenix, Arizona.
I had a couple of guys that I'm working with. In fact, you met David. He came in and said hello to
me.
So I was chatting to him the other day, and I've had some feedback on the conference from him as well, and he thoroughly enjoyed his time out there. So thank you for making my buddy feel welcome.
Yeah, it was nice to see everybody. We can reflect a little bit more. But yeah, okay. Here, I'm just gonna put this. This is AI gobbledygook from YouTube or from Google, but it'll get us close enough. All right. Yeah, that's fine. I think we got enough for a show here, Barry. Look at this. Look at this. We did show notes in 20 minutes flat. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to plug this one more time. If anyone here wants to come to our live show notes, anyone that's scary can come in and comment on that document. We'll see those comments. And so you're not allowed to edit, but we'll see those comments. And if you want us to mention something specific, you can put it in there. You can also leave your name and we can give you a shout out as we mention those topics. Once again, tonight on the show, we are going to be talking about reflecting on Aspire. It's our first time back in the podcasting booth since Aspire, so it'll be good to kind of reflect on the event. We are also going to be talking about the Chartered Institute of Ergonomics and Human Factors 75th anniversary. And is it anniversary celebration? What do you call it?
It's the 75th anniversary.
All right, and then great. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm really curious. I'll kind of let Barry lead that discussion. Barry, take the wheel, I guess. And then for the last thing we'll kind of dive into a little bit is Notebook LM, which is a new AI tool. So we're kind of back in the news. So we'll get a little bit about the professional societies. We'll get a little bit about the news, and then we'll give our, sort of one more things. If you have any comments on those types of things, please do comment on this document. I will take this away once we start the live show, which is in approximately 10-ish minutes. I'll take it away, and I will bring back the live caller. So if you want to be a live caller, and talk about any of these things live, give us your reactions, or you can join us in the post show. You can do that as well. Think I'm hitting everything there.
Cool.
All right. I'm going to grab these.
Where do I
find kind of crazy, Barry. Like, I feel like we're actually making something here, which is not something that we've done since
a long time.
Would you like to know the date on this the last time that we did show notes like this? was almost a full year ago.
Really?
So,
Wow.
yeah, December 14th, 2023.
I need to get that.
Which there's I mean longtime listeners of the show, folks who stopped by the podcast booth heard my story. I think I might share that story once again in the reflection actions tell Nick's story. I might do that. Yeah, I think it's out there, but it's time to restate it in the context of everything else here because it's an important thing. We are back. Okay, I'm gonna throw that in there. What do we got? I was gonna throw it up here. We got an awesome show for you lined up. Talk about these 3 things.
Oh, there. That's what I'm looking for. That's
awesome. Yeah. Anniversary. And Notebook LM. If you're watching live, we could use a little encouragement in the form of financial donations. No, I'm just kidding. But no, if you're watching live, let us know what you're thinking of the lineup tonight. I am curious on what folks are wanting to hear about, what they're excited to hear about, and that will help drive some of the discussion tonight. Or if you have thoughts on anything, if you attended HFES, Aspire, let us know in the comments. If you have thoughts on and know about this 75th anniversary, then let us know. What are you excited for? Or if you've used Notebook LM, once again, just let us know your thoughts. It's always cool to weave those in and out of the show. Yeah, I'm gonna throw these out.
I'm going to.
Huh. I need to take these and put these down here. I'm also looking into actually I'll save it for one more thing. Do you have one of those? Do you have a one more thing?
I don't have one yet. I'm trying to think about what would be interesting.
It doesn't have to be interesting.
Well, I've had an invite you might find interesting.
I've also had an invite you might find interesting. I think we talked about it a little bit. You know what I would find interesting, Barry?
What's that?
I saw a Facebook post from a Barry Kirby who was wearing spectacles.
Oh yeah, no. You reminded me. I should really be wearing them. I'm just so not used to doing it. I've worked out right. So, in fact, yes. Let's talk. We will talk about that in one more thing, because what a palaver having to wear glasses for like close-up work.
Welcome to my life.
Well, it's and I've only got one pair. I'm now realizing I need about, I don't know, 5 pairs or something just to keep going. But I'm not spending the same amount of money on glasses for all the different areas I need. But yes, thank you. You are right. I need. Why do you wear them with headphones? Oh my god! Hold on.
Oh yeah, now you're really seeing the fun. Oh yeah, and you got to get all your setup so where the
That's
light's
horrible.
not going to glare. Oh man, look at this! I love this. You're
Yeah, but
figuring everything out in real time. Look at that! Like if I angle my glasses up, you can see the reflection of that thing. If I turn it up too.
that's going to be a right pain in the bottom. That is. Yeah, I might not do that. Oh. Yeah, that's better. To be fair, I didn't even think because they asked me if I wanted like anti-glare coatings and stuff like that. Didn't even think about this. So I was like, no, I don't need any of that. It's fine. Just crack on. You do you. And so my next pair, yeah, give me anti-glare everything. Because we got to stream,
We do the streaming. 303.
Right. So yes, that's now my one more thing. Good shout. Thank you for.
You are welcome.
I need.
Hey, it is just about 30 after.
Yeah.
Buffet is what we're going with. All right. Are you ready to go? Are you ready to chat about some of this stuff?
I'm born ready. Yes, let's make it happen.
All righty. I'm doing everything right now. This is kind of crazy. I'm actually really impressed with our ability to rapidly assemble this.
Well, it's a trusted format. We know what the format is. We're happy with the format.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, and I might adjust this in the future to be better. Just be better in general. Like
the same thing. Same time.
Here's some of the things that are on my list, Barry. Look at these margins. Oh my gosh, can we just get rid of these margins and we don't need these margins here.
But you need margins. No, you need margins.
I'm not printing them out. Are you printing them out?
No, but no. I mean, half the margin. I'd be happy.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like I went too extreme there in the margin example, but 0.5 is fine. 0.5 is fine. Okay. Look. And look at this top margin. Look at all this header space. Nah, we don't need all that.
Oh yeah, you don't need all the header space.
We can fit, we can fit everything on one page. What is this? Can we get rid of this? How do I do this?
Can we get rid of the you need to make the header smaller.
Options. Is it the header? No, I'm pretty sure it's look at us just trying to figure out Google Docs live. All right. Anyway.
Oh, why is that done that?
Okay, I think it's about time for us to start the show. I'm going to throw up a QR code here, and you can be a live caller here. Once again, the instructions for this, if we're talking about something, you want to say something about that thing, you just scan this QR code, take a screenshot, and click on the link there. You can get to us that way. There's an in Restream, there's a chat. It's a private chat between you, me, and Barry. You can let us know what you want to talk about, whether or not you want your face on camera or not, and we'll bring you in when it's appropriate to do so. We'll kind of bob and weave through the topics to get a good segue to bring you in. Okay.
Yep.
I think with that, we can start the show. You ready to start the show?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel all nervous now. That
look, I gotta dust off.
Come on then, let's make it happen.
Dust off all these old video clips. Let's see here. Oh my gosh! Did you see that? This whole thing. Come on. Hold on. Okay. Let me full disclosure here. There is like a there's a how do I do this? There's a gosh, hang on. Videos from storage. No. This is okay, sorry. I am trying to do something live. I want Yeah, that's the video clip that I want on this thing. So when I click this, does it play the video clip? No.
No, you were playing it. What was
No,
wrong
I
with
know.
what you did?
Well, when I did it here,
Oh, it didn't take the bits away at the bottom.
it persists all the overlay graphics, which is not something that used to happen.
Are you using the new version of the studio or the old version?
Yeah, I have to because they've changed everything.
See, I refuse. I went back.
I refused for a long time, and then now it's here, and I can't undo it. I don't know how to do it.
I had the new one, and then I turned around and said I don't like it. I went back.
I don't like it. No, I don't. But I can't, and we're live, so I can't like change it while we're live. So this is fun. I don't know what is happening here.
You might just have to run with it and just it be a thing.
All right, we're just gonna run with it. Ignore. Sorry about the mess.
Welcome to Human Factors Cast, your weekly podcast for human factors, psychology, and design.
How about that for a proper intro? We're back. Welcome back to another episode of Human Factors Cast. This is episode 303. Yes, we're back to numbered episodes, everyone. Look at that. We're recording this live on October 10th, 2024. And like I said, this is Human Factors Cast. I'm your host, Nick Rome. I'm joined today by Mr. Barry Kirby. Barry, how you doing?
I'm good. This feels so old school now.
It does, doesn't it? But I'm jazzed for it. Let's do it. We got an awesome show for everyone lined up tonight. We're actually going to be talking about the Human Factors Buffet. What does that mean? Well, we got a couple different topics for you. We'll be reflecting on Aspire this year. HFES's Aspire. We'll also take a look at what's coming for the Chartered Institute of Ergonomics and Human Factors 75th anniversary. And to round everything off, we haven't forgotten the news stories. We'll talk a little bit about Notebook LM. Google's latest acquisition for aggregating sources. We'll get into all that and more, but later. But first, hey, look, we're back. Programming notes. This is the thing that we're doing. We're back. We're back in the seat. I'm going to talk a little bit about this later in sort of our reflection on Aspire, but I think we're back. So, like Barry said, this is old school. So, Barry, what's the latest over at 1202? You got anything for us?
We do. We've got I think since the last time we did a live episode, we've got 2 episodes out on 1202. One is looking at a when podcasts collide episode, and so we are bringing in another Human Factors podcast, which we might have spoken about before. I'm sort of can't remember. So that's one. But then the latest one is talking to Andrew Thatcher, and for those of you who are not familiar with Andrew Thatcher, you're soon going to be, because he's the new president of the IEA. And so he's going to be the president there for he's got a 3-year term. And so I had a chat with him about what his hopes, dreams, ambitions are for the IEA during his term. We also had a bit of reflection on what the IEA is about, because I don't really know a vast amount about it. And if I don't know much about it, then I'm sure a lot of the listeners don't too. So we delved into a bit of that, and yeah, really good to listen to. So go over to 1202podcast.com and listen to them latest episodes.
Excellent. And just speaking of episodes, I think it's pertinent to announce that we have a few of them out there from this year's Aspire, which will serve as a good transition piece into our news stories. But we have a couple of episodes out there. They're shorter in form, but I think we've had a couple programming scheduling issues over the last couple weeks, but we are attempting to be a little bit more regular about our production schedule. So with that being said, Mr. Barry Kirby, what is the news story this week?
You're not playing a news jingle.
Oh, wait, do I have to play the news jingle? Hang on. I'm so rusty at this. Hold on. That's right. This is the part of the show all about Human Factors news. There we go. Mr. Barry Kirby, what is our news story this week?
So we are hitting 3 stories this week, but the first one is a reflection on the Aspire conference. So for those of you who are unaware what Aspire is the new name for the HFES conference and was held this year in Phoenix, Arizona. From all accounts, it was not held in a what has traditionally been a normal hotel type environment. This was more of a motel type environment, so it's more where you had to walk between buildings and things like that to be able to get to different bits of it. So I think at that, we obviously had the entire show, the live stream that we had with ourselves, with Heidi, and who else was with us? I've completely forgotten.
Frank was with us as well.
Frank was with you because you guys got to do it live. Me and Heidi were both coming in remote. And so I'm really keen to hear about your reflections, what it was like actually being there. And now you've had time to almost relax, chill, and go back. Because during the live event itself, you tend to run around like a run-aroundy thing, getting everything organized, gathering lots of A-roll, B-roll, doing the interviews, talking to people, trying to organize things, trying to work out how to make the Wi-Fi work. What was it like for you when you got back, you got home, and you could sit down and go, did you have the warm feeling of what a successful event, it was amazing, or did you have the, oh my God, thank God that's over?
Both. Yes, both.
Fair enough.
So I think this is interesting because it gets at a piece. I'm going to speak like a human right now, not like a podcast host. The week at HFES for me is incredibly stressful, to say the least. Like Barry, like you said, I do run around making sure that we are capturing things to bring that content from that conference to all of you, whether that's, this year we did sort of the shorter form interviews, which I think was great actually for a lot of that sort of bite-sized feedback. In the past we'd done longer interviews that spanned 15 to 30 minutes. And while those were great, those are some of my best, memories from HFES. I think this actually allowed us to get a wider aperture of what that experience is like across a whole bunch more domains. It's a lot more editing. It's a lot more pieces to put together and put out there and organize in a way that makes sense. But from a human perspective, I think my overall experience at HFES Aspire was great. And truly, I could not have done it without Frank, without Vianney, without Katie there in person. They were all very, very involved in that whole process. I think I may have mentioned it on the live stream, but the night before we went live, we were up until 1 a.m., which is an improvement from the night before in 22. We were up until 4.
Yes.
And so we're actually getting a lot better at how we put that stuff together. And I have more reflections, but I'm curious from the outside looking in, Barry, what were your sort of initial reactions?
Well, from my perspective, it's obviously very easy. I rock up, I switch my camera on, and you've got everything sorted, and I just slot myself in. So from a logistics point of view, for me, it's always been very easy. I've got to say I was disappointed this year, like I was last year. For the last 2 years, I've hoped to have been there myself. My plan is I'm hoping next year to be able to be out there, and hopefully the world won't conspire against me. But I guess in some respects we've seen, was it 2 years ago where we saw the president's speech, where we saw Chris doing his thing, and we had, I think, a lot more of I would say leadership engagement and stuff like that. So doing them sort of live interviews was fun. And so from this time we saw a lot more of real people. Rather than the celebrities, shall we say.
Right.
So that was really nice. It was really good to see some of the different bits going on. One of the bits I thought was the riskiest from the HFES standpoint was where they were doing the live testing of the new website.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Vianney did did some actual testing and gave some feedback and recorded the whole thing, which then as soon as we played that segment, I was then onto the website and looking at it myself. We discussed a bit of it on air, but I thought that was a very, very brave thing for the organization to do, considering, you know, they've launched the website, it was live, it was out there, and then they were asking feedback from, was it a couple of thousand ergonomists? Wow, I would not have done that.
I mean,
Because,
like, to be fair, you're going right where your users are. Like, that's, you know, that's the other flip side.
You are, but it's but I know how annoying I can be when I do reviews for other people, never mind ourselves. So and also it's a bit subjective, isn't it? Because we all do. I mean, if you reviewed something, I reviewed something, we would probably come out, it would largely be in the same ballpark, but we'd have our different nuances on stuff.
Right.
But yeah, no, I thought it was a great thing to do. Really cool stuff for that. So yeah, it was quite good from that perspective.
Now, I have to talk a little bit about some of the interactions that I had that were not captured on camera, because I think some of those were, ironically, some of the most powerful moments that I had at the conference. I think anyone that talks about their experience at a conference always says, it's the networking. And it really is. But beyond that, you know, I have to say there was a moment. So Frank, being a little candid here, Frank roped me into manning the desk over at the systems development technical group at the opening reception. So it's actually kind of cool this year that they did was, I think I may have talked about this on the live stream too, but they, during the opening reception last year, they kind of did all the awards during the reception. And this year they sort of had, you know, booths with all the affinity groups and all the specialty groups and all the technical groups sort of around the area. And they had kind of a little scavenger hunt, and you could go through and get a stamp for, you know, figuring out a little bit of trivia around each of these different groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so Frank had me man the systems development technical group. And in doing that, I kind of shilled the podcast a little bit. I was there, or rather, Frank was shilling the podcast for us too. And so, but while we were there was a select few individuals that came by, and there were a few that had lasted with me, and one of them I shared with you, Barry, but I don't think I shared this live actually. And so I'll share it with all of you right now. Somebody stopped by the booth and said, "Where have you gone?" They flat out asked, "Where did the podcast go?"
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm no stranger to the fact that we've been a little bit irregular on our production schedule over the last year. And I was honest with them and said, my life has been a little bit tumultuous since the last time, you know, I came to HFES. I think I've mentioned this on the show many times, but upon my return from HFES in 2023, like the very next Tuesday, I got a meeting with HR on my calendar, and I was part of the big, you know, wave of tech layoffs, the latest wave of tech layoffs. And so my priorities shifted. The podcast has always been a personal project. I've never been paid by any company to do this. Genuinely, all the support for this comes from my own pocketbook, as well as the Patreon supporters who support the show. And so my priorities shifted. I needed to buckle down and find work and leverage my network to do that. And I did, you know, and thankfully I wasn't out of work for too long. But alongside with that, there were some adjustments, you know, from my part of like finding my role in, you know, finding my niche in my new role at my new job, and figuring out what all that means. And really sort of taking that a little bit seriously. Not that I wasn't before, but it was just trying to make sure that I was doing the best that I could to ensure my own personal prosperity. So because of that, yes, we were publishing episodes, you know, throughout the year. We were doing hangouts, kind of keeping this thing together on life support, is what I referred to it as. But I won't forget the words that this person said to me, that made this a deeply personal request. And so when they said, "Where has the podcast gone?" I kind of explained that story to them about what my life has been like over the last year. And then I said, can you share with me your experience with the podcast? And they said, well, I'm from overseas. And in my region of the world, there's not a whole lot of human factors professionals.
Mhm.
And I listened to the show to stay in touch with the latest news. It was like listening and engaging with my community. They couldn't get a human factors job where they were. And so they got the closest thing that they could, which was like a security engineer. And when the podcast took its break, its hiatus, its shift, um, it impacted their life too. And that was one of several instances that I've heard like that. And so the most important thing, and honestly, I had a number. I had a number in my head that said, if I hear this thing, something similar to what I just described, that many times while I was out there, then I would double down and sort of revitalize the podcast because it's clearly important to the community. And that number was met, which is why we're here, which is why we're putting an emphasis on the show notes, which is why we're old school again. But I wanted to share that story to for a couple reasons. One, to indicate I hear you. I you hear me right now, but I hear you. You stop by the booth, you let me know what it means to you in your life, and that sort of rejogged my inspiration to get this thing off its wheels again. So when I say I'm dusting off the podcast shelf, I literally am trying to revitalize this thing to what it once was in terms of our production schedule, in terms of its quality. So we're back is sort of what I took away from HFES this year. And talking with all the folks who were at HFES and Aspire, and who had these personal stories to share with me about what it, listening to us in their headphones while they're on a morning run or doing the dishes. Like I'm not offended by that. I'm actually very flattered that you choose to spend your time with us while you're doing chores or while you're working out. And so those types of things were deeply impactful to me on like a personal level, and that stuff was not captured on camera, and you can't really capture that stuff on camera.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who stopped by and let me know your story. And if you have something that you would like to share with us that's similar to those stories, like I always said, we see the numbers, but until people stop by and like tell us those stories, doesn't feel real. So I'll just kind of stop there.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because as you say, we do this for fun. We do it because we enjoy doing it. Like I said, not because we get any other sort of reward for it. And I like it because we sit in our virtual room here, and we've come together over this our love of our profession, and have a bit of banter, have a bit of a laugh, but also cover some serious topics. It's not until you start meeting other people in social environments, face-to-face things, and they go, oh yeah, I've been listening to your, like say, your interview on this, or when you and Nick were discussing such and such or whatever, and you're like, oh, people actually listen to this stuff. People actually get something from it. And it's, that's where when we say, look, just tell us where, if you're listening live, tell us where you're listening from, this, that, and the other, because it means that we can connect with the outside world in that respect. So yeah, I'm completely stoked for you that you've had you've had people come up and share their experiences of the stuff that you put so much time, effort into planning and putting together, and I get the joy of just coming on here and abusing it all completely and being able to talk with you. So no, that's a really good and awesome output. So are you then now stoked for Aspire next year as well?
I am. And I think there's a lot of things that we'll do differently next year. One of the things that I'm consistently, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. One of the things I'm consistently disappointed with from our end on the podcast side is the production value. I think there's a lot that we're trying to do there. And so I'm going to try better to get us better equipment. That does mean a financial hit on my part. But if we can get better equipment, if we can get a better setup that is mobile, and we tried to do the multi-camera thing this year, which worked kind of until it didn't. But if we can get a true setup that is actually going to work for us in that environment, which if you see that next year, you'll know that I've forked up the money to do that, because it is important to me. I think the last thing that I'll end with, and on the reflections from Aspire, is that given everything that we do here, we're just two people on a podcast, but there is a whole bunch of other people backing us. Whether that's through Patreon support, but we also have a lab full of people. The activity levels have kind of waxed and waned over the years, but having the support of Vianney and Katie, and especially Frank, on the front lines with me this year was really important. And so with that, I'm going to kind of reopen the door to the Human Factors Cast Digital Media Lab. So if you want to get involved with the podcast, if you have a desire to help out and assist with the production of the show, with various efforts, there are things that we can put you on, and that will get you some experience. So it doesn't matter who you are. I'll have a chat with you, and if it's a good fit for you, it's a good fit for us, then we'll make it happen, and we'll get something on the books. So the lab doors are open. Come on in. I guess just send us there's a couple ways you can reach us, but our website's probably best, or humanfactorscast@gmail.com. You can get to us there. All right. So we've talked about Aspire. This is Human Factors Buffet, though, so we have other topics to get to. Barry, I'm going to let you drive for most of this next conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about the next story?
I can. So it is 75 years since the Chartered Institute of Ergonomics and Human Factors, in its original guise, was launched. So not only is it 75 years since it was launched, it's 10 years since it actually obtained its chartered status. So that's almost like a double celebration that we're doing here. And so the Chartered Institute is celebrating this in a number of ways. The first, I guess, the biggest one that people will see, and is over social media and things like that, is the Think Human exhibition. And the Think Human exhibition is a human factors based exhibition. It's a physical exhibition based in the Museum of Making in Derby in the UK. And the idea is that it's bringing together people, products, places, procedures, to celebrate the world that is designed both to be safe and productive, comfortable and enjoyable. It was launched a couple of weeks ago. One of the reasons why we didn't have one of the weeks on here in the podcast, because I was at the launch event, where there was a large number of VIPs and key people within the human factors world, as well as a whole bunch of students, graduates, and current students and graduates from the universities around. So that was a brilliant event that took us on a bit of a journey. We heard from some of the sponsors, including the likes of the Loughborough University, around why they got involved, why they were keen on engaging with it. We heard from the current president launching the event, and really invited us in to go and look through it. Now, what they did at the Museum of Making was, not only did we have a floor, so the third floor of the museum is taken over by this exhibition, and if you just go straight up there, you would be taken on a journey through the floor that has all sorts of exhibits that have been donated by companies, that show everything from PPE to how you use or how you could design table tennis bats to be better, for better use. And there was actually a table tennis table there with balls, so you could actually have a bit of a hit around yourself. Weirdly, there was some stuff there that showed different bits of clothing and that. And a lot of the exhibits had signs on them saying, "Please do not touch." Now, as ergonomists and people like who do, the one thing we like to do is to be able to get hands-on with things. So that felt really, really weird. So that this exhibition is open between now until mid-December. So if you're in the UK and you want to go and have a look at it, I strongly recommend you do so. Alongside that, what is also happening is they've managed to get funding to run a whole bunch of STEM-based workshops. So we are we are inviting schools in, or the schools have been invited in to run a whole bunch to have workshops where they learn about ergonomics, they learn about why we do why we do what we do. And one of my team, Jim, has been one of the ambassadors who's been running one of these workshops, and he's been there this week to have his engagement with schools. So that's fab. What the other bit with it is, the way that the museum is set up, it's some of it's quite interdispersed, and so there's some elements there that are on some of the other floors, in with some of the other exhibits. And one of the bits which is absolutely fascinating is a napkin, and it's a napkin by that's been written on by Huell Murrell, who's one of the founders of what was the Ergonomic Society that then turned into the CIHF. And this napkin has a doodle of his evolution of what he thought that this thing called, what we now called human factors and ergonomics, what should it be called? And you can see on this doodle, it's got things like anthropogenics, it's got ergotology, and loads of other words until he kind of got to human ergonomics. And so you can see how that has then led on to human factors and ergonomics and all that sort of stuff. But it's really interesting to see just to see. I mean, we do it all the time when you're thinking about new things, just doodling away. Well, what am I going to call this thing? And then to see how now that's evolved, and what we take for granted as being this thing for ergonomics had such a beginning. So that's all about the Think Human exhibition. That's not the only thing that's going on. There's been the EHF conference this year was based on celebrating the 75th. But the other thing is, if you've ever read the journal Ergonomics, they are doing a special edition to celebrate 75 years of the CIHF. And so if anybody has got any thoughts, ideas, or things that they want to write, so they're trying to bring together, I guess, some of the more fundamental things about where ergonomics has been and where ergonomics should go. If people want to put together a journal article, then that is now open to do so. I think you have until mid-December to submit a journal article. So I think that's a well worth doing exercise. In fact, maybe we should be doing one on something about communicating human factors. Just a thought, just to lay
I like it.
with you, Nick. I mean, given that it's a journal article, we would need to base it in some facts, some things, but we have statistics coming out of our ears with listenership, and then you could also bring in some of them stories like you were just discussing from Aspire.
Yeah.
So I think overall it's been a really interesting time, because being able to reflect on the where ergonomics has been in this journey for the past 75 years, seeing some of the things, seeing some of the journey, has been humbling and quite exciting, because there's still loads of people come together to try and drive some of this stuff forward. And so that with that, I get there was also a paper going out about where we think ergonomics is going in the next 10, 15, 20, 50 years, and whether people will think it will still even be around in the future. And I'm not going to talk that much about that paper, because I think that's something we could talk about on a future episode in our new old look,
shiny new
podcast.
old look.
Yeah. So I mean, I know you've seen some of the photos and some of the stuff that we've put online and stuff like that. Have you, from an HFES perspective, have you had these type of events before? And do you think they compare?
You know what? I'm not entirely sure if there's been sort of a partnership with a museum in this type of way. And if there hasn't been, then I'd be curious to kickstart something like that over here in the States. Because one of the things that I've seen from some of the photos, like you mentioned, I've been following all the fun stuff from it. I know I saw a bunch of your pictures come through on my feed, but one of the ones that stuck out to me that was interesting, and it's interesting for a variety of reasons, but you might think that, oh, it's kind of like a piece that is about documentation, but in a lot of ways, it's an interactive exhibit. And I think that to me is the most compelling part about this. Like, I'll just talk about one example I saw, which was sort of two two sheets of paper side by side, and one of them said, "What scares me about AI and what excites me about AI." And just to see people participating, or at least faking to participate on your on your picture, I don't know, but actually to see people write their thoughts about it. I know there was something like that at HFES, like, what are you excited for, what do you aspire to be, or what should HFES do, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but to see that in a museum that everyone has access to, especially if this is a free exhibit, that to me says a lot about, like, is there any data collection that's happening there? Can we even look at that? And it actually speaks to the human element of thinking human, which is cool. So I want to say that from the outside looking in, it excites me. I wish I could go, because the way that you talk about it, the way that the pictures that I've seen makes it not only interesting from a documentation historical perspective, but also that interactive piece. Like, that is what is exciting to me, because I would want to know from the layperson who's unfamiliar with the field of human factors and ergonomics what their thoughts on some of the stuff is. So it's all really cool stuff, and I wish I could be there.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has been a labor of love to get it to where it is. I mean, I think I mean, certainly one of the big driving forces behind it has been Dr. Mark Young, who's the current president. It was his baby. He's ran with it over a number of years to get the funding in place and that. But then he's brought together a team, and we had a specific event organizer to help put this on, a lady called Ellie King, and she, I think, has done nothing but live and breathe almost every word that's been written, that's been published, that goes on. And chatting to her on the night, you must be so proud of seeing it all come to life. And I think, I don't know about you, but when you launch a project or something, it's almost, once you get it over the line, you're there and you just almost like, everyone else is enjoying what you're doing, but you're sat there going, oh, thank goodness that's out. That's doing the thing.
Yeah.
She was completely up. She was absolutely bouncing off everybody's feedback and stuff. And it was just such a delight to see her being able to enjoy what she's achieved in that respect. And so, yeah, that from that whole point, that was really, really good. And then what is going to be good going on is that it doesn't just end in the physical event. What they're going to be doing, as much as they possibly can, is taking all of the textual stuff that's been written, all the pictures, all of the artifacts, and generating and creating an online version of it. So after this event's over, it doesn't just disappear. And that's one of the key things I was keen to make sure that happened with this, was that it isn't just the physical event. It is more. It has more longevity. So when at the middle of December, when it finishes, it doesn't just, that's it all over. One of the discussions that kind of freaked me out, if I'm honest, was with Ellie, and people have been saying to her, right, what you gonna do for the 100th? It's like, great, yeah, what you gonna do for the 100th? And I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we? And I'd actually, only in a meeting, was it a couple of weeks previous, had said, we need to make sure we learn the lessons. We actively capturing what works, what doesn't, for the next one of these that we do. And so she's going, oh, what do you do? And it wasn't till, and so it was like, yeah, great. We'd all been drinking champagne and stuff. So you're sitting there going, yeah, of course, I can't wait for the 100th. It suddenly dawned on me when I was driving home that when it comes to the 100th, I'll be 70. I was like, I don't want the 100th. I don't want to see. No, that can wait, because it's only 25 years away, and I didn't like that. But what I loved was the fact that people had seen it, they'd been motivated by it, and they were like, right, what are we doing for the next one? Because clearly this is a good thing. Yeah, it was a bizarre, it was bizarre but brilliant at the same time. So what we're going to do with it is, I'm hoping that we all as a team, so I'm going to take my entire team, either for the day or for an overnight. We talked about doing it as maybe as part of our Christmas gathering. I don't think we're going to do it like that anymore, but we're going to try and take a couple of days, go to Derby, because it's about 4 hours, I think, from where we are. But take the team, go and have a wander around, and enjoy it. So not in the pressured time of a launch event. Go and wander around it, and enjoy that. Go and have some food. Use it. It will be a massive talking point, and actually be able to go and see some of the exhibits that I didn't, just because I was that busy. I know you'd find this hard to believe, talking to loads of people. It was hard to actually take in, I think, a lot of the stuff that was there. And I'd like to do it again in slower time.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting to me beyond the interaction piece of this whole thing is that what we do as a profession goes largely unnoticed if it's done right.
Yes.
And so how do you document that and present that in such a way where you put stuff on display, right? And that's just cool to me, because it's an appreciation of the things that we got right. And it's as a profession, the things that we have done correctly, and the sort of bringing that visibility to the invisible heroes, that the unsung heroes of human factors and ergonomics. And so I really appreciate you sharing. And I think for anyone who's in the area or can make a trip out, it sounds like definitely do it on my behalf and tell me all about it, because I would love to hear about it.
Maybe if I do get to go, maybe we should live stream a visit with you, so you can tell us what you want to see, and we take you to it through some sort of with like an iPad or a phone or something, and that could be an interesting way of doing it.
Remind me in the post show, just make it like a little footnote in here that I need to tell you about a certain shot that we got from the conference that I was really proud of.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we're going to take a little break. Thanks to our friends over at HFES, Aspire, and the Chartered Institute of Ergonomics and Human Factors in the UK for our stories this week. We're also going to be talking about Google's Notebook LM in just a moment. We'll post all the links to all these in the description on this episode. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to talk about the last news story right after this. If I can find the button. Where'd it go? Where did I put that button? Is it this button?
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast Network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our weekly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and Human Factors Minute, a Patreon-only weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember, it depends.
Yes, huge thank you, as always, to all of our patrons. You truly do keep the lights on over here. I see you, those of you who have kept subscribed through our drought. Appreciate you. Thank you for sticking out with us. We're back. All right, so let's talk about this last news story here that we have. This one's about Notebook LM. Now, we talked a lot about AI on this show, and it's because AI is rapidly changing, and we're at this point in time now where everyone's trying everything with AI. But I felt like this one was one of the ones that made it above that threshold for worth talking about because of what we do here. And so what Notebook LM is, if you haven't heard about it, is it's the latest Gen AI tool from Google. And basically what it does is it helps manage you put all these different sources into it, and it helps you condense that information into some sort of easily understood. It's like a summarization tool. Okay, so you can imagine you put in all your school notes from school, along with some textbook chapters that you have PDFs of, maybe some papers that are augmenting that, and then it'll summarize all the important pieces about it. You can chat with it, ask it questions about all that stuff. So what makes it different from Chat GPT in that regard? Well, it actually built to look through all of those documents in such a way that ChatGPT is more generalized to. It can actually push out personalized guides like study guides or briefings. And here's the real interesting one, Barry, that I thought you might enjoy. It
Okay.
can actually take all that content and generate a podcast based on it.
Ooh.
So we're gonna try this live. Actually, we'll do a live demo because
Cool.
we're risky and this is what we do. But it'll be interesting because I am curious on what we can truly test out here. But it'll also do things that I think ChatGPT kind of fails to do, where it'll actually grab the citations of where it found that point from and point to the piece of the source that you had actually uploaded to it. So if it's source, your notes, or source, here's this paper that says this thing about it. And so right now I think it's available as like an experimental preview. So again, we're gonna live demo this and we're gonna see what it looks like. But Barry, give me I don't know, a topic that we could maybe like a here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to just see what it says about Human Factors Cast. So
Okay.
let me see here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go to Notebook LM here, and I'm going to share the tab audio because that'll be important. All right. So we have this thing up here. Let me get rid of some of the gunk. All right. So I have an untitled notebook here, and I'm going to just call this Human Factors Cast Test. And now you can come in here and look at the sources. I think I don't know exactly. Oh, there you go. So you can add sources. So let's do like www.human-cast-media. All right. So now it is pulling in information about that website. And you can see here that it is sort of pulling in various things. But it also has this option here, deep dive conversation. And I'm going to see, this is completely live. I have no idea what's going to pop up when I press this. So just be aware. So it's generating that now, but you can also ask it questions about some of these things. I also wonder if here, let me do another thing here. I'm going to download these show notes and upload them as a PDF and see if it does anything else with that information. Here, let's see if I can throw it in there. No, there's our show notes, everyone. I'm going to add a source here. Take that show note, throw it in there. So you can see all the sources, and it'll select which sources. I think it failed to generate because I'm adding stuff to it. So let's just retry one more time. And we'll see what it actually comes back with. If it's somehow more entertaining than us, then we'll just stop talking right now and we'll let it take over. But I think the way there's been a couple of interviews with the person that with the CEO of this company, who has talked a little bit about some of the prompts that it's using for this podcasting piece, because it's actually, I've heard a couple samples and it's actually very convincing the way that they do this. So I'm really curious as to what's going to come back. But given all this, Barry, what are your initial thoughts here?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, like you say, the initial question you ask is, what's the difference between this and ChatGPT? But this does seem to have certainly that element of being able to bring sources together, because ChatGPT's got sort of limits in that respect, and the ability to bring together a bunch of guides, standards, or whatever, and then be able to interrogate them with a decent focus around them seems to potentially be quite a useful thing. I do use ChatGPT in that way. So I think we've spoken before ages ago around the way I did some interviews where I did some interviews through Teams, got the transcriptions, chucked the transcriptions into ChatGPT, and got it to do an initial rinse on the themes I was looking for. Now, if this will do, the way that this looks like it works, it could do a similar thing, but be a lot more concise and perhaps be a bit more secure as well. So,
all right. So it looks like we have the test here. Would you like to hear it? All right, here we go.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This week, we're diving into a news story that feels like it's straight out of the future. Notebook LM. It's this AI tool from Google designed to make working with information crazy efficient. And I know you hear AI everywhere these days, but this is different. Imagine reading something complex and having an AI study buddy right there with you, able to analyze the text alongside you, pull out the important stuff, even create summaries or answer your questions.
Okay, so it's pulling from our show notes, that Notebook LM stuff, because we put in the so those two. Let's see if they talk about human factors cast at all.
Study guide just for you, highlighting powerful tool, right? And critical thinking that we can use it to challenge tools to enhance. We're generating a research. So we use this.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a whole other deep dive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So, okay. If our listeners are...
Okay, so it did not do the thing that I wanted it to do, which is talk about human factors cast. So let's see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the show notes really quick, and I'm going to try to I'm going to try to delete this, and we'll see if we can generate it one more time with here. I'm going to delete this source too, just in case. And we'll generate. We'll see what comes up. There are some like materials that I could dig around and try to find. I should have those. Hang on. Maybe while it's going, I can search for some of those to see if we can augment it. Let's see. Where do I store those things? Let's see here. I wonder. Okay, so it's failing to generate. And let's see, download. Hang on. I'm gonna look at something. Okay.
Okay.
I got something good. I got something good here. Let's see here. This is an article we put together a while ago. I don't think it was ever published, but I'm going to put it in there because it gives a background on the podcast Digital Media Lab and what it's all about. So I'm going to see if it actually does its job here and pulls in appropriately, because I would love for y'all to hear about the lab, because this would be really great if they just sat here and talked about the Digital Media Lab. But you can see some of the interesting things about that just very quick sample that we heard is that you could hear them talking over each other. You heard them talking with natural I forget what they call them, but they're natural interjections, like
so
like
they
breaths.
both,
and
I was going to say they both had a more natural cadence than I would have given it credit for, because it sounded, yes, you could tell that it was, it was artificially generated speech, but it wasn't robotic speech. It felt more natural, and you could probably listen to it without getting annoyed at the way it was working. So yeah, that's this whole audio generation idea, I think, is fascinating, because certainly from a research perspective, so a lot of the work I guess I do is gathering together research papers, and I never have time to truly sit down and read them. I would say a lot of the time I end up skimming them and pulling out the important ones, but I often think that there's probably nuggets that I'm missing, because you skim read and you quickly go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and then go and deep dive onto the big ones. This could be a way of almost a second analysis way of pulling it all
Yeah.
together and seeing if there's any nuggets, but treating it like almost like a podcast, listening to it when you're driving in, and it summarizes, I don't know, 10, 20 papers or something like that.
You can imagine this with anything. Like I'm thinking about this in terms of like the stories that we put together, like a frequently asked questions. Let's see here. What does the frequently asked questions say? That it's generating right now. I wonder how do I get back home? Where is it generating it's generating it right now. So there's the frequently asked questions. There's a study guide. Where did I go for that? Was it notebook guide? Briefing doc. I'm just going to generate a couple of these right now. Oh, come on. Why are you doing this? Am I asking too much of it right now? Yeah. So we'll start there. Here's a briefing doc. Deep dive, short answer quiz, instructions.
wow.
Answer the 2 to 3 sentences each. What is the primary mission of the Human Factors Cast Digital Media Lab? What are the 3 core values that guide the team? So there's some stuff there, and I'm wondering if it'll pull it back. But this is definitely cool. I'll tell you what, I'll keep this up in the background and I'll bring it back when it comes back, because I think we got to get into our one more thing soon enough. I do not know why it is having such a hard time generating. Maybe they just can't talk about the lab for that long. Maybe. Here's another one.
But again, that whole thing about just basically pulling up being able to ask quiz questions, I know that is a absolutely key way that a lot of the school people, students at school now are using this stuff to be able to do that, and to be able to put the stuff that you're studying, just chuck it in there and say, right, hit me, ask me random questions. That would be a brilliant way to help, or an easy way to generate study material. I love that. That's fab.
Yeah, here I'm gonna try it just with the article there, without the podcast website. And you can see here, it's already pulling in a summary. Human Factors Cast, a volunteer-run podcast that explores the intersection of human factors, science, and technology. Founded in 2016, the podcast has grown significantly, is now a global community of over... Is that right?
Is that right? Wow. I need to put...
I don't think that's quite right. I think that's listens and not listeners. I think that'd be quite the population if that was listeners. Yeah, it's not coming back with audio conversation for this, so that's interesting. I think I'll try one more thing here, which is sort of our proposal to HFES for live streaming from there, and we'll see if it comes back with something. So once again, a live demo has failed us in that regard, but it's actually a true representation of the product. So that's kind of cool in that way.
Yes, I think so.
But all right, we're nearing the end of the show. So I'm going to keep this on in the background. If it comes back with something, maybe we can listen to it at the end of the show as sort of a treat. But I think for now, let's go ahead and I'm going to cut this source, and we'll come back to it in just a minute. But let's get into this last part of the show that we simply like to call one more thing. Yeah, there's no intro for it. I don't have an intro for it. Yeah, there it is. Okay, Barry, what is your one more thing this week?
So my one more thing is all about these.
What are those?
Glasses. They're my glasses. And the reason I'm not wearing my glasses at the moment is because I need to work out how to wear them with headphones. Up until this point in my life, I've sort of I've never really had to wear glasses at all, and went to get my eyes tested because I was starting to do that thing where you have something in front of you. So say it's a bit of paper, something like that, and you're like, going, okay, I can't quite read that. I need to do. Can I read that? Oh, I can't read that. If it's, oh my goodness. So I went and got my eyes tested, and the lovely optician turned around and said, well, your far vision is fine, but if you're reading stuff up close and stuff like that, then you would find it easier if you wore glasses. And I'm like, right, okay, fair enough, okay. So got these glasses. So it took them a week or so to produce, and I recently got back into Pokemon Go, as an app,
okay,
as you do, and I put these glasses on, so I really only use them for work. I normally wear them in the afternoons when I'm a bit more tired. Probably should wear them all the time. But they're for reading, they're for computer work, they're for like scrolling your phone, that type of thing on your iPad. And my biggest moment with them so far was, I think it was, I got them, put them on, I had that whole queasy feeling. I can't watch the telly with them because I have to look over the top of your glasses and stuff like that. Got the Pokemon Go app open, and I suddenly realized that all the blades of grass have so much detail in them. And so then I was like picking up my my Kindle Paperwhite, and the fonts are so sharp. And it's the sort of thing that I didn't realize that necessarily how much I was just living with it, compensating and things like that. That as soon as you put your glasses on, you're like going, wow. I mean, like now, I'm perfectly fine in reading. I can read everything that's there. Because the screens, you can size them and all that sort of stuff. But then when you put your glasses on, you realize that a lot of the stuff is, a lot of the icons and the symbology is way sharper than you give it credit for. So that's been a revelation. The problem with it has been, I've only got one pair of glasses. And if you're taking them on and off all the time, A, they're going to get broken. But B, when you forget them, I'm now going to need to get a pair for the office. I'm going to need to get a set for this studio where I'm at the moment. I need to get a set for the house. Thankfully, I don't need them when driving, so I don't need that. But yeah, there seems to be a whole logistics issue here of having to keep these things around you all the time. And they're quite bulky. The case is quite a decent size. So I don't know how to do all that. So I know you've been wearing glasses for an awfully long time. You wear them like a pro. I'm clearly in the amateur league and having to learn how to make sure I do this thing properly.
It's funny because there's these things called bifocals, and what you could do is just wear them all the time and look through the top and see far away with no correction. And then when you're looking at things up close, you look down the bottom and boom, there's a correction. It takes a little bit of getting used to, from what I hear, but then you could just wear them all the time and never have to be like, put them on, put them off, put them on, put them off. You could just get upset at bifocals where it
True, yes.
breaks it right in the middle. But I commented jokingly on your post about it, saying, now you're living life in HD, my friend. And just like you described, it's like, yes, I distinctly remember when I was like 10 years old and I got my first pair of glasses and I put them on and I said, you're telling me that grass, you can see each individual blade when you put these things on? What? And like now my vision is just so bad. I can't even see, wow. I can't even see what's in front of me. My nearsightedness is fine. I'm kind of the opposite of you. Like I can read this close. That's fine, no problem. But even my screen in front of me, I can't read any show notes here because it's all just a blur. So yes, glasses, lifesaver.
Yes. Anyway, that's enough about me. Nick, what about you? What's your one more thing?
Oh, what did I put? Oh, I put great to be back. So kind of wrapping up the thing that I touched on a little earlier. It is great to be back in the podcasting seat. I think there have been a lot of notes of encouragement from folks to say, get back in the game, do the thing. And I do have to say that I have been looking at the entirety of this process to basically try to identify what is the least amount of effort that will sustain the show at the same at the same level of completedness or quality that we've done in the past, or I guess in a reflection of this episode here, because I would assume that this is at that same level. What can we do to make sure that happens? And there's a lot that I'm looking at behind the scenes. I do have to say it's a little bit hard to get started again. But as I'm like looking at this stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I did do all that. Okay. Yeah, no, okay. So I mean, what truly needs to change from this thing to where it's at now? And I think a lot of what I've been doing to date, just in the last couple of weeks, has been stripping out the crap. Like, what don't we need?
Mhm.
Because if you remember sort of what I would consider the peak right before HFES 23, we had a lot of different things going on. That was automation. We had a lot of different things going on that were help facilitating some of those easy things, but managing that process actually, in hindsight, was a lot more difficult. And so right now I'm looking at how can we go back to basics and build upon those basics to where it's a foolproof thing. So just know that I'm looking at that. And if you want to help, we have a Human Factors Cast Digital Media Lab opening the doors there. And truly looking for folks who want to be involved and have the time to be involved. If you don't have the time to be involved, that's kind of been a barrier in the past. So if you're able to and are willing to give your time to the podcast, that is what I'm looking for right now. So please reach out to us if that's something that you want to do, and we'll work closely together to find something that we can get you working on. And that's my one more thing this week. A little bit of a plug, a little bit of a insight into what I've been working on.
A multi-tool.
Right. A multi-tool. All right. And then that's it for today, everyone. If you like this episode and enjoy some of our discussion around conferences and AI, well, you know what? I'll encourage you to go watch our live stream on HFES Aspire 2024, or check out either of the 2 episodes we have out there right now. We will be uploading more over time, so go check that out. Comment wherever you're listening with what you think of the stories this week. Are you glad we're back into this format? Are you disappointed in us? Is there something we can do better? Just let us know. For more in-depth discussion, you can always join us on our Discord community. That's also a great place to get in touch with me or Barry if you want to get to be involved with part of the lab. Visit our official website, sign up for our newsletter, stay up to date with all the latest Human Factors news. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show, there's a few things you can do. One, wherever you're at right now, just leave us a 5-star review, whatever platform it is. That'll always help. 2, tell your friends about us. That costs nothing for you to do and has a huge impact that is immeasurable in a lot of ways. 3, if you have the financial means to, and you want to support us in that way to make sure that we have great equipment going into HFES Aspire 2025, you can always support us on Patreon. As always, links to all of our socials and our website are in the description of this episode. Mr. Barry Kirby, thank you for holding down the fort with me and talking about all this fun stuff. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about Think Human?
So if you want to come chat about that, you can find me on most socials. Interesting, because we do have X listed down here, and I'm not as active on X as I used to be because I'm not liking the way that it's going. I know, right? We'll do politics in the post show. But fundamentally, if you want to hear about fantastic people in the human factors domain, interviews with them, their thoughts, how they got into human factors, and what they currently do, find me on 1202 The Human Factors Podcast at 1202podcast.com.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Rome. You can find me on our Discord and across social media at Nick_Rome. Thanks again for tuning in to Human Factors Cast. Of course, it's great to be back. Until next time, it depends. Hey, don't leave. Don't leave. We're not done yet. We got to do a post show. Hold on. Let me bring back the spooky music, please.
It's also kind of delicate, well, isn't it? It's a bit interesting. So, what did it feel like to be back in the saddle with the new old format?
It's good. Yeah, I think I don't know how to do this. There's so much that we've built over the years that I'm like, oh, but we like that.
I think the 3-story format actually kind of works. You could, if we had 2 meaty stories, you could just do 2 meaty stories.
So interestingly enough, this is how we actually used to do the show when it first launched. And it might actually be good to go back to the old days and talk about multiple stories, because you can link them together in ways that are surprising and fun and engaging. And I agree with you. I've always kind of liked doing like a survey of what's out there rather than one singular story.
Because I guess the only thing, given now as well with the drive into stuff that's easy to short form, then that gives you structures like that to pull out quite easily, doesn't it? So, and it didn't take us a massive amount of it. If we know that we're going to go with like this through the week, then if people suggest stories to us or we chuck them in the Discord and stuff,
honestly, that's the dream. That's the dream. You send us stories and we talk about them.
Yeah,
that's the dream. But oftentimes it's like us going and looking for the stories, which is fine. And if it needs to be, maybe Barry, I'm also wondering if we make our conversations a little bit more public to drive some activity.
Whoa.
Okay, just hear me out here.
First of all, you're making the show notes public, and then you want everybody to know. Whoa.
Well, I mean, like,
I think you could.
I sent you a story. I said, also, whenever we're back to normal, here's a good story. And
Yeah.
I think if I had done that in a public manner that said at Barry, hey, look at this story. Do you think this would be a good idea for next time? And we start to bring those conversations out into our public Discord. One, it might revitalize some more conversation, but it also might, generate some interest and comments on those things from folks who are on our Discord looking for the news. And so, we can also source from other folks who post in that channel and just use that as a mechanism for us to pull stories. And I've always struggled with the right number of stories. And I wonder if there is no right number of stories. Because you're right. If we had 2 meaty stories, we could talk about it at length. If we had 3 shorter stories, we could do it like we did today. If we had 10 flash stories, we could almost mention them as like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what's going on. I really want to talk about this thing, though.
Yeah, and maybe that's the thing, isn't it? It's have a rough idea of where we're going, and actually, but that I think maybe part of the problem that we had was we went almost too rigid, as you say, with the automation and stuff like that. It was one story, it was 3 it came from. It was, it was so rigid that perhaps we bored ourselves to a certain extent. If we had it, so maybe the flexibility in there to say, well, actually, this week there's this massive topic. We're just going to talk about that. That's it, and we might have a break in the middle, or we might have, like I said, we might have 10, and we're going to flick through them, and maybe slight focus on a bit more focus out of the 10, 2 of them. We'll mention these, 8 headlines, and then talk about 2 in slightly more detail. That sort of flexibility, but knowing you've got a structure of an intro. We'll do some, you'll do a break in the middle, you'll do some, and then we'll do one more things at the end. Would be enough. And it's
I mean, we could still have a section for like highlighting community comments too, and maybe we limit that to Discord instead of trying to go out and about to all of our different communities.
I think I get more engagement, I think, on LinkedIn than anything else, and a bit and depending on who's around on Facebook as well, but yeah, I mean, see what comes in through the chats and stuff like that. Reflect them as we go. But like I said, there might be, if there is some interesting things that come up on like Reddit or something like that, there's nothing to stop us to tie it in. It could be an interesting conversation starter. But I think that fluidy reactionary stuff is quite cool. So it's the story, but what's our reaction to the story? What's the is the fun bit. So
and it also allows a little bit more flexibility too. If other folks want to be on the show, we can really flex to people's strengths and people's interests. And so it actually opens the door for more people to be on the show in the long term, because then we can say, hey, look, we have all these topics. We can talk about any one of them. Oh, you got to stay away from that for work? Okay, no problem. We can shift to another one. And maybe that one story a week is too rigid.
But it also allows us to have our fleets of fancy. If there are 2 or 3 things, we turn around and say, well, actually, this would be really good, or this is really topical. Like November, we might get back into politics. You never know.
Oh, we definitely are.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I mean, that's where the whole X thing I think is really interesting, because you sort of sit there and go, you know, we have a real, without getting in, you know, we don't necessarily have to get into the politics of it, but the way that that platform has now been changed significantly from what it used to be, and the way it's no longer necessarily the authoritative news source that a lot of people have been using, all because of the actions and drive of one individual. The rise and fall type thing, I think it's really interesting, because the social media platform is all based on people. Yeah. So I think that will work as a structure going forward.
I like it. Yeah. I think yeah.
So once we
sorry, thinking. Sorry, you I had asked you to write something down. Did you write it down?
No, I forgot.
Talk about in the post show. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
Maybe someone in the chat can remind me.
Yeah. The not writing, the writing down bit really needs me to have a pen.
I said make it as a footnote.
I know, I forgot. Where is the Spy next year?
It is going to be in Chicago.
Oh, cold and windy. Surely.
About a year from right now. Yeah, it's happening in October next year.
Why is it later? Or is it just is?
It's normal time. It was actually early in September this year.
Okay. See, I it would be very useful if actually they could go and do it in LA. That would have been my ideal for next year if they could have had it in LA, because I want to go and visit LA because I want to go and see my football team. I've sort of put that on my bucket list of things to do next year is to go out to LA and see that. Maybe I could tie it all in together. I don't know whether we could make that work. It'd be funny if I could.
Yeah, take a couple weeks off and just HFES out to LA. Why not? Could be fun.
Apparently children need looked after and things, but
well, I guess there's that.
Well, saying that, the youngest is not as young as he used to be, so yeah, maybe you could go and stay with his grandparents for a bit, or his grandparents could come down. I feel like the whole plan coming together now. But yeah, if I did come over, that means we get to go out for dinner or something. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we would. We definitely would. And you could help me out with all this production stuff.
Over it.
I think Frank was really surprised with the amount of running around and stuff that we were doing at the conference. He keeps making jokes about it that I overworked him.
Well, at least he didn't do what I did when I took a lot of my stuff to EHF 2023, 22 it must have been, and I took everything except the power leads because that was embarrassing. So, hi Frank.
Oh, is Frank in the chat?
Frank's in the chat.
Oh, hey, Frank's doing back to basics. Yeah, hang on. I'll Frank, I'll put up your chat here. Glad to hear that you're going back to basics. You can always shift formats based on the season. Hey, that's true.
Yes.
I like it.
And we can have specials and things like that, and just keep it. Because somebody was suggesting for 1202, and we could maybe do something similar as well. Is almost having a quarterly wrap up of, right, these are the people we've spoken to. But over the past 6 episodes or whatever it is, he's the big hitters, and the things that you've highlighted around like the Notebook LM might be an ideal way of pulling some of that sort of stuff together. Yeah. Put the transcripts in, right? What are the, or just put the I guess if you just put the things in there, the
show notes,
and or just even the audio, and if it'll just take the audio, listen to it and say, right, these are your big outcomes. Actually, talking about transcription and that sort of stuff, I was on receipt of a recording of a Teams workshop the other day that needed transcribed. Did you know that Word will now do transcription for you? That Microsoft Word obviously has its dictate function, so you can dictate to it. But if you were to upload a recording, it will actually do all the transcription for you as well. For if you've already got Word, then it's there as a tool to use. I had no idea. I
knew there was the dictation tool. Is that what you're talking about, or does it actually like live transcribe like files that you throw in there?
In the dictate function, if you click on that, there is actually now an upload, and you can upload an audio file, and it'll transcribe it for you. Which was brilliant. So share that for the common good, because
common good.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm. Let's see here. I'm still trying to get that Notebook LM thing to work. It didn't come back with the other one. I'm trying very hard to get something workable here about the lab, because as we're doing a major restructuring, reorganizing, revitalizing of the lab, I would love to actually get a good podcast out there about it. So that'd be kind of cool.
So I've taken a summary of the defense standard.
That would be great. Holy moly. All right. Yeah, do that. That's
listen.
I'm not hearing anything. Hang on. Maybe I'll kill the music here. Or are you not playing yet?
Oh no, I was playing it. Was it not coming through?
It's not coming through.
Why is it not coming through? Is that not coming through?
Not coming through. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see.
That should, because it's coming.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. All right, here I'm gonna try to generate one here about sort of the lab here, and hopefully it'll give me something good to work with, because I've gone to our old like wiki space and have pulled like several pages from there to see if that'll work, that talk about sort of the podcast itself, the mission, vision, values, our workflows, and the story behind us. So it'll be interesting to see if I can get that to work and get two AI computers to talk about what we do.
Yes. No, I think that again, it does feel a bit flaky because I'm doing one on 1202 as well, and it just keeps failing, keeps falling over.
And I wonder if that's just like a matter of like not having enough material to work off of.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of odd. Oh man.
I like the way that it gives you the references for why it's saying what it's saying. I think
that's really cool. That's cool and useful.
Yeah, because it's like so. I've just asked, how does 1202 bridge the gap between human practice professionals and those outside the field? And it's given me a whole bunch of different bits, but it's sort of like this podcast features a wide range of guests, including practitioners, research professionals from a different industry, and then it's giving me links to the different people,
That's cool.
to the different episodes. That's really quite clever. Yeah, that's neat. That is. So, I'm intrigued. Why couldn't you hear? Because if I play this, which I'll only play it really briefly, but
okay, we're hearing that now.
You can hear that. So, because that was my Spotify.
Ah, geez, we're gonna get DMD seed.
No, you're not. Not from that.
2 seconds. It's like that skit in The Office, the U.S. version, where Michael's listening to the same 15 seconds over and over and over again because they can get away with not paying the artist. I'm pretty sure they did, but yeah.
So that mean? That's I'll definitely generate that one.
Oh, okay. All right, I got it. You ready?
I'm born ready.
All right, let's do it. I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna kill the visuals, and then I'm gonna kill the audio here. Okay, here we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going behind the scenes of a podcast that's really making a splash in science communication. Human Factors Cast.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story.
What news?
Before we dive in, though, for anyone who's not familiar with it,
Yeah.
Human Factors is really all about how people interact with systems.
Okay.
So making sure things are designed, safely, efficiently, user-friendly, all that good stuff.
That's a great way to put it. This podcast has managed to take this, kind of niche topic like human factors and make it interesting, accessible, all those good things. And we've got some really cool stuff to work with for this deep dive. We've got internal documents from the show. We've got their origin story, even some insights into their team culture.
Yeah, it's like a masterclass in building a successful podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot we can
Thanks, guys.
learn from their journey for sure.
Definitely. So let's start with their origins, right? Human Factors Cast. It began in 2016 as like a side project by someone who saw, I guess, a need for better communication about these really important principles.
And it's amazing how quickly it's grown since then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I mean, over 170,000 listens already.
That's really impressive, especially for, a podcast about human factors, right? Like
Yeah.
that's pretty niche.
Definitely niche. But it speaks to their ability to actually connect with an audience interested in this stuff.
Totally. And they've also been recognized by some big names in the podcasting world. Listen Notes, for example, puts them in the global top 5%.
Wow.
And Player FM has named them a top science and technology podcast 2 years running.
That's incredible. And I think it reminds us that communication isn't just about the information itself.
Yeah.
It's about, how it's delivered, right? It's about packaging it in a way that people actually want to engage with.
You're totally right. Yeah.
And
Okay, this is dumb because I don't want to stop listening. Because it's really that good. I'm blown away right now. Do you want to keep listening?
Yeah, listen. I want to know how awesome we are.
Human Factors Cast is proof that you can be informative and entertaining at the same time.
It's the dream.
Yeah.
And their mission statement is actually, it's very clear, to make human factors principles easily digestible.
See, I love that they just come right out and say it. It shows
Yeah.
that they're focused, they're intentional about what they want to achieve.
Totally. And they're not just sticking to podcasts either. They're experimenting with blogs, social media, other formats to reach as many people as possible, meet them where they are.
Yeah, it's an approach that really emphasizes accessibility and community building, which is great.
And speaking of community, building a really passionate one, that's a major goal for them.
It's true, and they've done a fantastic job of it. It's clear they've tapped into something that people really care about.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Okay, so their approach to their work actually mirrors the principles of human factors itself.
Now you're getting into it.
Yeah. Can you explain that a little bit?
So they're applying, essentially, user-centered design thinking to their own science communication.
What does that mean?
Just to think about it. A well-designed product,
Yeah.
aims for ease of use, a positive experience for the user. Their content aims for the same thing. They're designing their communication with their audience in mind.
Wow, I never even thought about it that way, but you're right.
It's brilliant.
That's really cool. It's easy to get caught up in like the awards and the recognition, all that.
Yeah.
But I think what really stands out to me is their commitment to experimentation.
Oh, definitely.
They're not afraid to try new things,
Yeah, absolutely. Like they don't just stick to that traditional podcast format.
Right.
They're always pushing the boundaries, seeing what else works.
Exactly. And they're really open about their process. Like they actually operate as a quote unquote digital media lab.
Yeah.
And they use a modified agile scrum methodology. Can you Can you break those down for us a little bit?
Sure. So think of Agile Scrum as like a structured way of working in focused sprints,
Okay.
tackling specific tasks or
Dude, they're
projects.
breaking down Scrum.
And
What the
it
heck?
really values this
Quite cool.
continuous improvement,
Right.
data-driven decision-making, that sort of thing.
It's interesting how they kind of blend this structured approach with creativity
Right.
because, and it's not just their content creation that reflects.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna listen to the rest of that later because it's real nice to hear some people say some real nice things about you,
Oh, that's quite cool.
even if they're not real people.
But they're now very much our friends.
But I mean, like, look at
Oh.
what that did with just
It'd
a.
be interesting to see now. So the one for 1202 is just generated, and it'd be interesting
Okay.
to compare and contrast.
Okay, are they gonna say the same nice things about you?
Well, I
Right.
wouldn't, but how do we get it?
You
Why
could
can't you-
share. You
Oh, I
could
can
share
share-
your screen
share my
and tab as a source, and then I can bring it in.
Let us just open that up a bit. I will need to share my screen.
I mean, that's quite. I'll upload the full thing as a bonus for our patrons. So you'll be able to hear the whole thing over there. All right, Barry. Let's see.
Okay.
I've got your
Again.
screen share. Let me kill the music. All right, you're good to go.
Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of human factors, and we've got some really cool sources lined up. We're talking podcasts, a global organization, even a little cybersecurity. Should be interesting.
Definitely. It's amazing how these sources, though different, highlight the wide reach of human factors. It's not just one thing. It's a way of looking at tons of things.
So true. Well, you've been checking out this podcast, 1202, the Human Factors podcast. What caught your attention? Just the name alone has me curious.
Well, it seems like a real hub for anyone into human factors. They've got episodes grouped by all these different principles, which is super useful. And they've interviewed people from like rail, aerospace, all sorts of fields. That mixing of ideas is so valuable, don't you think?
Absolutely. Kind of like how the internet connects people from all these industries now. Speaking of connections, they interviewed Andrew Thatcher, the new president of the International Ergonomics Association, right?
Yeah, and his vision for the IEA is really interesting. He's really emphasizing diversity and inclusion, bringing more voices to the table to really get a complete understanding of human-system interaction.
That makes sense. To design for everyone, you need everyone's input.
Right. He also wants to expand the IEA's global presence, especially in areas that
Whoa, right. Just hold on a second.
All right, I gotta say, they sounded a little bit more excited about Human Factors Cast, but that's just a little footnote there.
But all right, all I put in there was the web. I know you give it a few more documents and stuff. I only give it the website.
Yeah.
It's
That's right.
dived into because there is no transcriptions of my stuff on that website. I think to get the transcriptions you elsewhere. It's download. It's access
It's
the
pulling
audio.
them in. It's not just getting it from the summary.
No, it's no, because that stuff he was talking about Andrew Thatcher is not in the summary. It's in the episode itself, and it's in the audio of the episode.
Wow,
That's nuts. So
that's crazy. All right,
do
well,
haven't been as represented. It's important to have that global view when we're talking about ergonomics.
that's quite cool.
Wow.
I like that.
wow. Hey, if you want to send me that file, I'll put it up for our patrons as well.
How do we do we
There's a
just
download.
Oh, there's a download button. Gosh.
Right there. Here, I'll clear your screen if I can get it. There we go. All right. Well, as much fun as we're having, it's about time. I can't believe we've gone for 2 hours already.
I know, right? Oh, I'll have to find
I don't want to go. This is I was talking with my therapist. This is my third space.
Yes. Unfortunately, I've realized that it's midnight. I need to go to bed.
Okay. Yeah, you go to bed. We'll be around potentially next week, potentially 2 weeks from now. We'll see. We'll see. If we are not around next week, there will definitely be something in the feed for next week. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, and all that stuff. We'll definitely drop something, probably from HFES.
Yes,
but if we are around, then we'll talk about something. We might talk about many things,
or just one thing. Who knows?
Or who knows?
Yes.
The world is a mystery, and we'll be back next time. So thank you everyone for sticking around, and really appreciate y'all. We're back.
Great.
We're back. We're back.
Yay. Awesome.
We did it, Barry. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you tired of boring lectures and textbooks on human factors and UX? Well, grab your headphones and get ready for a wild ride with the Human Factors Minute podcast. Each minute is like a mini crash course packed with valuable insights and information on various organizations, conferences, usability methods, theories, models, certifications, tools, and much more. We'll take you on a journey through the fascinating world of human factors, from the ancient history to the latest trends and developments. Listen in as we explore the field and discover new ways to enhance the user experience. From the Think Aloud protocol to the critical incident technique, focus groups, iterative design, we'll make sure that you're the smartest person in the room. Tune in on the 10th, the 20th, and the last day of every month for a new and interesting tidbit related to human factors. Don't miss out on the Human Factors Minute podcast, your ultimate source for all things human factors.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our monthly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and access to the full library of Human Factors Minute, a weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember,